everyone, thanks for listening to the Sergio Nazzaro podcast. I'm Sergio Nazzaro, the founder and CEO of, my life. I've grown up here in Colorado and I've decided to stay put as I continue to pursue being an entrepreneur and growing my business as a real estate agent. Prior to this, I graduated from the United States Air Force Academy and served my country for 11 years before becoming a CrossFit coach. I have a lovely wife, Lizzie, and we are in the process of growing our family and living here in the Swans Lake neighborhood. For the last 2 years, I've committed to documenting my process in both my personal and professional life as a means of journaling, and hopefully helping others along the way. So listen in as I share the next chapter of my story. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, episode 11. It's been a minute since I've been back on. I had every intent of getting one recorded for the new year. And life happens, right? Life happens strong in that first week of 2022. I hope you guys had a fantastic New Year's Eve. For my New Year's Eve, I got to go celebrate some of my friends. They got married down in Larkspur, and on New Year's Eve, we just happened to get a snowstorm. And it was gorgeous. The wedding was that side. It was gorgeous. However, on the way home, the coach bus got stuck. And I've never put chains on a car, let alone help put chains on a coach bus. We got the chains on the coach bus. Had about a 3.5 hour delay getting home, but it was an amazing wedding. We had a really good time. But that was the start of my 2022. And I think that carried into my week, right? It was a little bit hectic. It was a little bit not as planned. And I think that kind of started into my week. And so last week was an incredible week business-wise. I had 6 closings, which also means 6 final walkthroughs, which also means 6 in-depth conversations, which also means a lot of attention given to clients. And inevitably, when those things happen, when we have those busy weeks, when we have those chaotic weeks, sometimes we can forget to center ourselves. Sometimes we can forget to do the things that we know we need to do. And I think I fell into that trap. How hard is it for us to dedicate time for ourselves when we have so much going on in a week? And that can happen. That happens a lot. And so I caught myself in the middle of last week being like, all right, I can't just hop on my phone. The first thing when I wake up in the morning, I got to make sure that I'm centering myself, doing the things that I need to do, making sure I'm getting my workout in, my meditation in, my journaling in. And it's really hard to do that when you're getting pulled in so many directions. And what I've come to realize, and you can hear it in my voice, I think I'm getting a little sick here, which sucks. I've taken a couple of COVID tests, negative on both. But what happens when we get pulled in those directions and we're not centering ourselves and we're not giving ourselves the time that we deserve, our margin, our ability to respond instead of react, our ability to take the time and slow things down when things are really moving very quickly can become very difficult. And so one of the things that I've really tried to work on, one of the things that I'm working on this year is creating additional margin in my life. When I was on my honeymoon in Hawaii, I had a lot of margin. And what I mean by that is, if I lost my wallet, which I do all the time, but thank you, Dad, for giving me a tile for my wallet so I never lose it again. Unofficial plug there. Thanks, Tile. But when I lose my wallet or if something were to go wrong on vacation, it doesn't wear on me like it would on a normal day-to-day, right? It doesn't bother me. Like I can overcome it pretty quickly. I can really just kind of, okay, well, we'll figure it out. Kind of very easy with it, kind of like a duck. Just let that shit roll off your back. But when we are busy and life is going on and all these things are happening, that margin can become really thin. As an Italian, I got a short temper. My whole family does. That's a story I tell myself. But my margin's really small. And so my focus this week, especially with all that work and getting prepped for a few things coming up in a couple weeks, my margin was really small. And so what does that look like? That can be when you have no margin to give, you come home and all of a sudden those conversations with your spouse are a little bit sharp-tongued, right? The conversations with your parents on the phone are a little bit short. Maybe you're a little disconnected. Maybe you're not present. Maybe your relationships with your friends, maybe you're on this instead of in the room. And I've talked about this in the past. But creating that margin is really important so that you have the capacity to not only build a container for yourself to make space for the people you're hanging out with, but also make sure that you're responding and living the life that you want. And so one of the habits that I'm in the process of creating is before I walk through the threshold of my home, what can I do to recenter myself? Sometimes I need to go for a little bit of a long walk. Sometimes I just need to sit in the car, take a couple deep breaths and do a quick meditation. Sometimes I just need to walk around the block, whatever the case may be. Like, how can I recenter myself before I step into the scenario where I'm interacting with Lizzie? And I think it's really important that we bring awareness to that. It's really important for me to bring awareness to that, because the last thing I want to do, because I hate when it happens to me, is take out whatever happened during the day out on Lizzie. Like, that's not cool. She doesn't fucking deserve that. And so I would just say, like, creating that margin and being aware of that and bringing attention to it so that we can grow it. If you feel that, if you're not working from home, or even if you are working from home and like you're in your office all day and maybe somebody schedules a meeting at 4:30 on a Friday and you're like, fuck that person, right? Imagine taking that energy into your home with your significant other. Like, they don't want to hear that. So how can we check ourselves? Like, how can we bring awareness to that? And that's really one of the big things that I'm trying to do. Last week I had some friends who wanted to go see a home on, I believe it was Wednesday. And Wednesday afternoon, we were supposed to get dumped on, right? Big storm. And when they asked me to go, my first, response was like, oh, we'll just go tomorrow. Let's just do that tomorrow. Because I just didn't have that margin for that day. But inevitably, I realized that in real estate, if you don't take action, and if I had waited till tomorrow, we would have never have gotten the opportunity to go look at that home. In fact, they stopped showings the following day because they were so overwhelmed with showings that they didn't want to take anymore. And so I'm so glad that I took action instead of letting that decision wait for tomorrow, right? Like, that's another big key takeaway here, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the fact that I was aware enough to build up enough margin that I had the capacity to go do that, even though maybe I didn't want to, is huge, because it paid big dividends, right? We inevitably, they got the home under contract, which is huge. And I was able to serve them in the right way. I was able to guide them. I was able to be in the moment with them and provide them information on what I thought would be a good offer. I was able to interact with the other agent, right, to build that rapport and kind of build up the relationship that we need to get the home under contract. But without that margin, I don't know that I'd been able to do that. The bigger lesson there is, how often do we put things off until tomorrow that we could get done today? Now, I'm not saying you should work 24/7, but if you have the ability to get something done today, and that can free up space, whether that's mental space, time, or anything else the following day, just get it done. I mean, you are in control of your schedule. You are in control of your decisions. But if your decision is to get things done when they need to get done and just cross that off your box, well, now you've just given your future self some additional time back, maybe some less stress. And in real estate, it's really crucial, right? Like, we have to make decisions so quickly about, should we go do the showing? Should we write an offer? That we have to do a lot of things today, because just waiting 12 hours, that opportunity may not be there anymore. And so being able to take action, once you know that you have to make the decision to do something, is really, really big. I'm just so glad that I did, right? Like, I'm so glad that and just to circle back a little bit, I fucking hate business lingo, but just to circle back, imagine being a salesman being a salesman on January 1st, and they're like, contacting all those clients that said, hey, let's circle back in the new year. Clock strikes midnight. Everybody's giving them a call. It was a funny meme. I did a really poor job of just describing that, but coming back to the importance of taking action, right? Being in control versus being controlled. Real estate can be a very reactive business. Running your own business can be very reactive. The client needs something, you react. Something comes up, you react. But when you build out your schedule, when you build out your boundaries, when you have those, you get to respond accordingly. And so when somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I want to go see a home today, oftentimes, right, I'll take a look to see what the availability is. I'll make sure that it fits in not only with my schedule, but with other home showings. But from time to time, you got to go do stuff like this. And I think just knowing that I was in control of being like, okay, this is what I want to do as well, was super helpful. So I would say, don't just blindly take action. Make sure it aligns with what you're trying to do. Listen, my podcast got relaunched last year, and there was a little bit of a break there throughout the holidays. But this year, I think there's going to be, I know there's going to be an uptick in these, right? Not only is it going to be this very similar format, you're talking about some life stuff. And the reason I like to talk about, personal growth and development and stuff like that is I'm big on that. I love sharing my stories. I love sharing what I've gone through to maybe have an impact on somebody else. Maybe they can, avoid doing the same thing that I did in the past, making the same mistakes. Maybe somebody can take away something from this. So there's always going to be some level of personal development and growth on my podcast. But I'm also into real estate, and I think I would be doing a disservice of not providing you with additional podcasts that provide information about real estate. And so I'm going to be launching a few more episodes throughout the week on different real estate topics. And I think that is really going to be some additional, 5 to 10 minutes that you can dive into. You can learn something about the real estate market. You can take something away, whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest this year, in the future. You've done it in the past. You have some questions. And so I'm going to kind of sprinkle in a little bit of real estate into these podcasts as well. So we're at the beginning of 2022. The first weekend is January 9th. So heading into the second week, should I say. And our gym, CrossFit Golden, started doing 75 hard. And 75 hard is this, I don't know if you want to call it a physical challenge. I personally believe it's more of a mental challenge. But 75 hard, I'm just going to make sure that I get this right. It was created by a gentleman named Andy Frisella. And it's for 75 days. And for 75 days, you have to follow some type of diet. You have to work out twice a day for at least 45 minutes each, with the second one of those workouts being outside. You have to drink a gallon of water per day. You have to read 10 pages of nonfiction a day. And you have to take a progress photo. And so our gym, CrossFit Golden, started it. And at first I was really against it. Like, that level of structure now, for me, the way I live my life, seems really restrictive. You have to do all of this every single day. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of growth there. There's a lot of mental fortitude you will build there. I think it can benefit a lot of people for helping create a lot of habits. But for me, it just seemed really restrictive. And so I was very, a little gun shy of wanting to do it. However, I was like, what can I do to modify this 75 hard to not only fit my lifestyle, but to incorporate where Lizzie and I are. Incorporate us growing together. Incorporate us building habits for this upcoming baby that we're going to have. And so I took the 75 hard and I've adjusted it, and I made it fit for me. But what I love about it is there's a discipline behind there. And I think disciplines versus structure are very different. Disciplines allow you to have promises you make to yourself, commitments you make to yourself. Structure is, in my opinion, one of the things that it is a box. This is how you do it. This is always how we do it. It doesn't change no matter what season of life you're in. Nothing ever changes. To me, discipline is very different than that. You've created decisions based on where you want to be in your life and what you want to do and how it aligns with your core values. Structure, just to me, is like very restrictive. And so one of the things that I wanted to focus on this week, and I'm getting back on track because I missed today because I did get sick, is in doing this 75 hard, what is my intent behind it? And so the question I ask all of you for this week is, what is one thing that you can do in your life this week to improve it? What's one thing that you can do this week to improve your life? And I would say it could be something as simple as maybe take out a day of drinking. Maybe add some additional water to your diet. Maybe you go to sleep a little bit earlier or wake up a little bit earlier. Figure out one thing that you can do to benefit your life and take action on it. I appreciate y'all checking in. If you got time, share this with somebody who you think might find it helpful. Looking forward to the rest of 2022. Looking forward to growing this a little bit more. But until next time, take care, everybody. Happy New Year, and enjoy your second full week of the new year. See ya.